Michigan Stadium, nicknamed the Big House, is the football stadium for the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It is the largest stadium in the United States, the third largest stadium in the world and the 31st largest sports venue. Its official capacity is 109,901, but it can host crowds in excess of 115,000. Michigan Stadium was built in 1927 at a cost of $950,000 and had an original capacity of 72,000. Prior to the stadium's construction, the Wolverines played football at Ferry Field. Every home game since November 8, 1975 has drawn a crowd in excess of 100,000, an active streak of more than 200 contests. On September 7, 2013, the game between Michigan and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish attracted a crowd of 115,109, a record attendance for a college football game since 1927, and an NCAA single-game attendance record, overtaking the 114,804 record set 2 years previously for the same matchup. Michigan Stadium was designed with footings to allow the stadium's capacity to be expanded beyond 100,000. Fielding Yost envisioned a day where 150,000 seats would be needed. To keep construction costs low at the time, the decision was made to build a smaller stadium than Yost envisioned but to include the footings for future expansion. Michigan Stadium is used for the University of Michigan's main graduation ceremonies. Lyndon Johnson outlined his Great Society program at the 1964 commencement ceremonies in the stadium. It has also hosted hockey games including the 2014 NHL Winter Classic, a regular-season NHL game between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings with an official attendance of 105,491, a record for a hockey game. Additionally, the 2014 International Champions Cup soccer match between Real Madrid and Manchester United had an attendance of 109,318, a record crowd for a soccer match in the United States. History. Early history. Prior to playing at Michigan Stadium, Michigan played its games at Ferry Field, which at its peak could seat 40,000 people. Fielding Yost recognized the need for a larger stadium after original expansions to Ferry Field proved to be too small, and persuaded the Regents to build a permanent stadium in 1926. Fashioned after the Yale Bowl, the original stadium was built with a capacity of 72,000. However, at Yost's urging, temporary bleachers were added at the top of the stadium, increasing capacity to 82,000. On October 1, 1927, Michigan played Ohio Wesleyan in the first game at Michigan Stadium, prevailing easily, 33-0. The new stadium was then formally dedicated 3 weeks later in a contest against Ohio State on October 22. Michigan had spoiled the formal dedication of Ohio Stadium in Columbus 5 years earlier and was victorious again, besting the Buckeyes 21-0 before a standing room-only crowd of 84,401. In 1930, electronic scoreboards were installed, making the stadium the first in the United States to use them to keep the official game time. In 1956, the addition of a press box raised the stadium's official capacity to 101,001. The one extra seat in Michigan Stadium is said to be reserved for Fritz Chrysler, athletic director at the time. The single extra seat above an even 101,000 was in honor of Fritz Chrysler. Since then, all official Michigan Stadium capacity figures have ended in 01, although the extra seat's location is not specified. Before 1968, Michigan Stadium maintained a policy of no women or children allowed on the field. Sarah Krulwich, now a photojournalist for the New York Times, was the first woman on the field. Longtime radio announcer Bob Uefa dubbed Michigan Stadium the hole that Yost dug, Chrysler paid for, Carnum carpeted, and Schemichler fills every cotton pickin' Saturday afternoon. Since November 8, 1975, the stadium has held over 100,000 fans for every home game. The game against Indiana University on October 25, 1975 was the last sub-100,000 attendance home game for Michigan. Michigan Stadium's size is not wholly apparent from the outside as most of the seats are below ground level. Modern era. On September 9, 2006, attendees of Michigan's football game against the Central Michigan Chippewas endured the first weather delay in the stadium's history after lightning struck nearby during the first quarter and play was suspended for approximately 1 hour. Michigan's game versus Ball State University on November 4, 2006, was the 200th consecutive crowd of over 100,000 fans. Traditionally, when the game's attendance is announced, the public address announcer thanks the fans for being part of the largest crowd watching a football game anywhere in America today. On September 3, 2011, Michigan and Western Michigan mutually agreed to end their game with 1:27 left in the third quarter because of an ongoing lightning delay. It was the first time Michigan had a football game called because of lightning. The stadium was evacuated at 6:38 p.m. and the game was called shortly after 7:10 renovation and beyond. On June 21, 2007, the university's Board of Regents approved a $226 million renovation and expansion project for Michigan Stadium. The project included replacement of some bleachers, widening of aisles and individual seats, installing handrails, and the addition of a new press box, 83 luxury boxes, and 3,200 club seats. The renovation plan garnered opposition from students, alumni, and fans around the country, which waned as the renovation neared external completion. A disabled veterans group filed a federal lawsuit against the university on April 17, 2007, alleging that the design of the project did not meet federal standards for wheelchair-accessible seating. On March 11, 2008, as part of the settlement terms of a lawsuit filed against the university pursuant to the Americans with Disabilities Act, the university announced that the official capacity of the stadium would be reduced to accommodate additional wheelchair-accessible seating beginning with the 2009 season. The project was completed before the 2010 season. Renovations in April 2008 caused that year's University of Michigan graduation ceremony to be moved to the Diag. In August 2011, the university completed a 6-month scoreboard replacement project. The new boards measure 4,000 sqaft each with a resolution of 900x1632. The provider, TS Sports Lighthouse, also installed new scoreboards in Yost and Chrysler Arenas. Michigan Stadium was rededicated on September 4, 2010. Before Michigan's first home football game of the 2010 season against the University of Connecticut, with a listed capacity of 109,901. After the renovation, the stadium lacked permanent lights, although platforms for temporary lights were included in the design. In September 2010, a few days after the rededication, the University of Michigan's Board of Regents approved a plan to add permanent lights, at a cost of $1.8 million. The lights were first used at the men's hockey game on December 11, 2010. The following season saw the stadium's first night football game on September 10, 2011. The Wolverines defeated the Notre Dame Fighting Irish 35-31. The Michigan lacrosse program was elevated to NCAA varsity status in spring 2011, effective in the 2011 December academic year. The team will play most of his 2012 games in Michigan Stadium, including a match against Ohio State on April 14, 2012, after the annual Wolverine football spring game. Seating and surface. The stadium's original capacity was 72,000, but Field and Yost made certain to install footings that could allow for expansion up to 200,000 seats. Initially, all seating consisted of wooden bleachers. These were replaced with permanent metal seating in 1949 by Fritz Chrysler, athletic director at the time. From 1927 to 1968, the stadium's field was covered in natural grass. This was replaced with tartan turf in 1969 to give players better traction. However, this surface was thought to be unforgiving on players' joints, and the stadium returned to natural turf in 1991. This too became problematic, as the field's below-surface location near the water table made it difficult for grass to permanently take root. The field was converted to field turf, an artificial surface designed to give grass-like playing characteristics, in 2003. In 2010, it was upgraded with a brighter and higher quality version of field turf called DuraSpine. Attendance records. On September 7, 2013, Michigan Stadium drew its largest attendance for a football game to date. A crowd of 115,109 saw Michigan defeat Notre Dame, 41-30, setting a post-1948 NCAA collegiate football attendance record. A 1927 Notre Dame USC game at Soldier Field in Chicago, prior to NCAA record-keeping for attendance, drew an estimated 117,000 to 123,000. Michigan Stadium also holds the current NCAA single-season average home attendance record, which was set in 2011 at 112,179 fans per game and topped in 2012 at 112,252 fans per game. With an attendance of 104,173, the Big Chill at the Big House set the record attendance for a hockey game. The record was broken on January 1, 2014 for the NHL's 2014 Winter Classic, where a crowd of 105,491 saw the host Detroit Red Wings fall to the Toronto Maple Leafs in a shootout. On Saturday, August 2, 2014, a sellout crowd of 109,318 watched Manchester United defeat Real Madrid 3-1 in an International Champions Cup match. The official attendance figure was the largest for a soccer game in the United States to date. The previous record was set by the 1984 Olympics final, when 101,799 saw France face Brazil at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. Gallery. References. External links, official Michigan Stadium information page, Michigan Stadium renovation, the Michigan Stadium story Bentley Historical Library, University of Michigan Athletics History.